Welcome back to our Principles of Microeconomics video series. In our last video, we introduced the concept of game theory. In particular, we figured out Nash equilibrium in normal and extensive form games. We defined cooperative and non-cooperative equilibria. We looked at zero-sum versus positive-sum games, and we learned the difference between dominant strategies, pure strategies, and mixed strategies. In this video, we're going to apply these new game theory tools to situations of what's known as oligopolistic competition. Let's get to it. Many markets feature a small number of large but influential producers. Examples include the airline industry, cell phone service providers, online streaming services, and computer and cell phone manufacturers. In these kinds of markets, producers interact strategically. For example, AT&T's pricing and quality of service depend on what T-Mobile and Verizon do. Similarly, Delta's prices depend on what Southwest, American Airlines, and United Airlines are charging their customers. To study how these oligopolistic markets work, we'll need to use game theory. There are 5 typical characteristics of an oligopolistic market. 1. There are only a few firms. 2. The goods produced by each firm can be differentiated products, meaning goods that are similar but not perfect substitutes. Or they can be homogeneous goods, meaning that the goods are so similar that they are perfect substitutes for one another. 3. There are significant barriers to entry and exit, like in monopoly. And 4, each firm's decisions are dependent upon other firms' actions. Last, and 5, there can be positive economic profits in the long run. Because of barriers to entry, the price can exceed average total cost in the long run because there's a lack of competition. So let's begin by studying an example where there are only 2 sellers of a good. Often this is referred to as a duopoly. It is the simplest version of oligopoly. In our example, let's suppose there are 2 lawn care companies, one named Dogwood, the other one named Rose Petal. They compete for 1,000 customers, but if the price is $50 or more, customers would rather do their own lawn care. That just means that there'll be 1,000 customers so long as the price stays below 50, and no customers if it goes over 50. Let's assume that both firms have a constant marginal cost of $30 and their service is homogeneous. The customers can't really tell the difference between the quality of the lawn care provided by each company. Because consumers can't see a difference between the services from the 2 companies, we're going to assume that they will choose whichever company charges the lower price. From Dogwood's point of view, that means they face the following kind of demand for their product. If they charge less than Rose Petal, they get all 1,000 customers. If they charge the same as Rose Petal, they get half the customers. And if they charge more than Rose Petal, they'll get 0 customers. So what will happen in this market? Let's suppose Rose Petal charges $49 because they know consumers will want to do their own lawn care if they charge any more than $49. So what price should Dogwood now charge? If they charge the same price as Rose Petal, they'll get 500 customers, they'll share the 1,000 customers, and have a profit of $9,500, which would just be their revenue of $49 times 500, minus their costs of $30 times 500. However, that's not an equilibrium, because if they charged $48, they would have 1,000 customers, and they would make a profit of $18,000. They're going to have $48 in revenue from each of 1,000 customers, and their costs are going to be $30 per customer, leaving them with a profit of $18,000, which is much better than their profit of $9,500 when they shared the customers with Rose Petal. However, in that case, Rose Petal would have no customers and would make no profit. But Rose Petal would realize that if they were to lower their price to $47, they would get all 1,000 customers, and they would make a profit of $17,000. $47 times 1,000 minus $30 times 1,000. But then Dogwood would lower their price below $47 to try to get their customers back. If both company owners are rational, this strategic price competition will have to continue until each company lowers their price all the way down to marginal cost. If they were to go below marginal cost, the firms would make an economic loss and will be better off shutting down. So marginal cost of $30 is the lowest the price can go. So in the case of a duopoly with homogeneous products, price will fall to marginal cost, creating the most possible consumer surplus. This example shows the power of competition even when there are only two firms competing with one another. The only way for the two lawn care companies to make any profit is to collude on prices. When a group of firms does this, they form what is called a cartel. As an example, Rose Petal and Dogwood could get together and agree to charge $45 and each get 500 customers. The problem is that even if they do form this kind of cartel, there's a strong incentive to back out of that deal and to charge just a lower price to get all the customers for your own company. One way to resolve that incentive to sort of back out of the deal is to develop some kind of costly commitment device, like in the example where Gina threw her keys in the ocean in our previous video. Such a commitment device would work to change the outcome of the game that they're playing. For Dogwood and Rose Petal, one option would be to develop some kind of price guarantee, where each company loudly advertises that they will service your lawn for whatever price our competitor charges. With a price guarantee in place, from each company's point of view, there's now no reason to lower the price that they charge, because they know that their competitor will also lower their price, ensuring that each company still gets only half of the 1,000 potential customers. You've removed that incentive to compete on price. And if they were to reduce their price, you know that all it would do would lead them to lowering their profit and not really gaining more customers because they know their competitor will match the price. Note that lots of companies offer similar price match guarantee programs. Economists aren't really big fans of these programs because they likely stop companies from offering customers the lowest possible prices. Just think about it. Why should Target lower the price that they charge for an Xbox or a PlayStation if customers can just go buy the item at Walmart or Best Buy using the price match guarantee? That just means that Target lowering its price doesn't get it any extra sales. Now let's consider a duopoly with differentiated goods. A classic example here is the case of Boeing and Airbus, who are the only manufacturers in the world of medium to large commercial jets. For each of these firms, their problem is like the monopoly producer problem. And the only difference is that the marginal revenue curve lies a little closer to their demand curve. In the monopoly problem, the single price monopoly producer has to lower the price to everybody to sell more of their good, leaving their marginal revenue well below the price that they charge. In the duopoly problem, the marginal revenue is just a little bit closer to the demand curve, meaning that the price is closer to the firm's marginal revenue. This is just because when a duopolist lowers their price a little, they can steal some of the other firm's customers, meaning that whatever they lose by lowering the price effect, is mostly made up for by gaining more sales, the quantity effect. Because the marginal revenue is more similar to the price, a duopoly creates only a small area of deadweight loss relative to a monopoly producer. Okay, that's the oligopoly problem in a nutshell. To summarize, oligopoly can produce great outcomes where price falls all the way to marginal cost so long as the firms produce identical goods. If the goods aren't identical, then the problem is going to be more similar to a monopoly producer's problem. However, if the goods are similar, the marginal revenue will be quite close to the price and will create only a small area of deadweight loss, as you can see here. Note that we studied only duopolies in this video. We could go ahead and add more firms to each problem, but it really won't change anything. In our next video, we're going to examine the case of imperfect competition, where there are lots of firms producing similar but not identical goods. I'll see you in the next one.